Welcome everyone back to the channel. If you're new here, Mad.Forensic.Scientist, I like to talk about science. Forensic science, clinical science, all that jazz. CLIA lab director, clinical science, toxicology, forensic toxicology, all that great stuff. But today, I want to talk about trade-offs. I was listening to a podcast that had Alex Hormozy on it, and he was highlighting some very important things about trade-offs. Everything's come to trade-offs. It's very common that we look in life and we see somebody having something, and we're like, oh, wait, man, I really wish I had that. But we don't always want to make that trade. We don't always want to make the sacrifices that they made to achieve that. We see the billionaires, we see the people with the big business, we see people with the fancy cars, the MDs, the doctorates, the PhDs, and we're like, oh, man, I want that. I want that life. I want that paycheck. I want that quality of life. But then they sacrificed a lot. They made massive trade-offs to get there. And you're like, well, maybe I don't want to make that trade-off. Well, then, yeah, that's fair. You can't get that life then. You can't have that. You can't have both. You can't have your cake and eat it too. And as with life, it's with the lab too. The lab's the same way. You can't have the status. You can't be the lab director. You can't be supervisor. You can't be a lab owner without putting in the work. You have to put in the work to accomplish those things, to get those things. And I think it's really easy as when you enter into a laboratory that you want those things, but you might not necessarily want to put in the work to achieve those things. You want to put in the effort, put in the time, the sacrifice, and that's what it takes. It takes time. You have to gain that knowledge, gain those skills to get there. You got to trade. You got to make the sacrifice. You got to put the time in, put the work in, put the effort in, put the money in. Do what it takes. As if you want to be, so if you want to be the owner, if you want to be a lab director, you want to be a supervisor, you want to be the technical lead. All those things require time, commitment, and effort. Part of that is money. So it could be, if you want to be like a lab director, then you need a PhD. You want to be a doctor, you maybe need an MD. An owner, you need to put in the time. You gotta get the money. You gotta have the money to be an owner. You can't just be an owner. You don't get promoted to owner. It doesn't work like that. Supervisor is time. Supervisor is effort and time. The experience. You gotta be in there, put in that time, put in that effort, put in that work. That's how you get to that part. That's how you get to that role. Now, the trade-offs. Everything comes with a trade-off. If you want it, you got to put in the time, you got to put in the effort. And you got to make that trade. You got to be willing to make that trade. And on the flip side, value. It's important to understand that to improve your wealth, to improve your worth to a company, to your laboratory, to your situation, you need to add value. You need to be adding value to your organization. Add value to your organization, add value to yourself. The best way, in my opinion, is to add value to yourself. To build your skills, to build up, that makes you valuable to the company. That makes you valuable because you're going to improve efficiency, you're going to add consistency, add stability. Those are all important things to a laboratory and to any business, any kind of setting. Those things help. So if you can do that, if you can build yourself, then at the same time, you're going to build the laboratory. And hopefully, the laboratory that you work for is going to compensate you accordingly. Now, worst case scenario, the laboratory does not compensate you fairly or adequately or up to your standard or what you believe you're worth, then the market will tell you. You can go out there and find you another job. If somebody else is willing to pay you the money, then boom, you're right. you weren't getting paid enough. You weren't getting paid adequately because someone else is willing to pay you. But if no one else is willing to pay you, then maybe you're overvaluing your skills, and you need to up your skills. You need to up that ante, get better. Now, it's important to make sure that you are increasing the value. Increasing your value will ultimately increase the value that you can generate for the laboratory, for the company, and that's going to be huge. And part of that, you have to be willing to make that trade-off. I think, especially with the Gen Z, this younger generation, they get a bad rap for not having initiative, not following through, wanting too much, wanting to have freedom and money and all this good stuff. And I'm a millennial, by the way, just to clarify. Millennials used to be the ones who got that rap, and now Gen Z is bearing that burden. But I don't think they're wrong. I think that they're valuing themselves and they're valuing their skills. Maybe they're overvaluing a little bit. Maybe. Maybe they're not willing to, maybe they're not making the appropriate amount of trade. Maybe they're not making the appropriate time to make that worth. But I think the concept is right, that they need to be valuing themselves and they need to value their worth. Because ultimately, nobody else is going to value it as much as you are. And there's nothing wrong with that. But you need to put the work in. You got to make that trade off to put the work in to get the value. I definitely don't think that you should be sitting somewhere 10 years with 2 raises in that entire time, 4% raises. Obviously, that's not going to cut it. That's the kind of stuff that the older generations did, and they put in that sacrifice, and that's why they're like, oh, you guys don't take anything for appreciated. You guys want to raise every year. What the crap? I get it. It's a different time, and maybe your company that you're at isn't going to be the one to give you the raise. It's very likely that you won't see the raise you want to see at your current job. I don't know what it is, but people value what you've learned, the experience you gained at other companies more than they care about what you gained in your laboratory. I don't know why. I don't personally do that. But unfortunately, I often don't sign the checks. So, the people who do sign your checks, that's who ultimately makes decisions. But if you are focusing on making the right trades, if you're putting the time in to make yourself better, if you're really, really, really doing your part and really making yourself better, and if you really are making yourself valuable, then someone else is going to take advantage of that value. And they'll pay you what you're worth. They'll pay you what you feel you're worth. But you got to put in the effort. You got to take that initiative, get in there, and start grinding it out.